Hello and welcome to the Enduring Illness Podcast. And I am your host. My name is Ryan. And this is obviously going to be the first time that we're meeting because this is the first episode on the channel. So, what I wanted to do was introduce myself, introduce you to me, and kind of tell you my background, and also talk about the illness that I have encountered and still continue to deal with. And that's why this channel is called Enduring Illness because I want to share people's stories of recovery, people's stories of struggle as they have dealt with a chronic illness and how it relates to running, endurance sports, and overall being an athlete. And just a reminder that this video podcast is for information purposes only. Nothing here should be considered professional advice. Always consult your trusted healthcare providers and other professionals for your own professional advice and treatment. So, my personal story. So, I grew up running cross country in high school. I was never spectacular. I was on the varsity team, but I was never like the best runner. But really, for me, that was a means to do the career that I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to become an Army officer. I wanted to do that route. So, in order to do that, I knew I needed to be able to run. And so I did that in high school. I was in ROTC in college and did that. And then I became an Army officer. And obviously, being an Army officer, a big part of that is staying fit, running a physical fitness program for your soldiers. So I did that, and I did that close to 8 years where I was an Army officer. I ended up getting injured and I had to have some surgery. And after that, I kind of just, per se, fell off the wagon and I got out of shape and I was a civilian and life was busy and I got overweight. And I finally decided after some major life changes that I needed to get myself back in shape. So around 6 years ago, I had started working out, kind of getting my fitness in check, and it just kind of slowly progressed from just lifting weights to doing cardio on like the elliptical, and it naturally led back into doing some light jogging. I was really kind of concerned about my feet because I had had surgery on my feet and have nerve damage in my feet. So I slowly built back up to it, but I basically kind of fell back in love with endurance exercising. And, that led me to cycling and swimming. And I eventually ran a Ironman 70.3. And, things were going great. I had maintained that healthy lifestyle. That is until last summer, just a little bit shy of a year ago, whenever everything really just changed. And what started that change was getting a really bad infection with COVID-19. And after, dealing with the acute part of the infection where I was like really sick and basically bedridden for almost like a week, I started to kind of pull out of it. And this was not my first time getting the virus. It was probably my third or fourth time. But I noticed as I was coming out of having the virus that I just was not pulling out of it like I had before in the past. So dealing with that, I tried to kind of work back into working out, and my body just crashed. And really, ever since I've been dealing with this, it's slowly gotten a little bit better. But as I have dealt with this illness, I felt like I was really isolated. I was part of a running club and did that, and that was a huge part of my social circle. And I haven't really been able to do that. And what people don't realize about endurance sports is there is a really tight knit community around these. That's one of the reasons why I think ultra marathons have gotten so popular, is the fact that they have such a cool community. I mean, people running on trails and eating pizza pretty daggone cool. And just the camaraderie amongst runners is great. If you've never been to like a marathon, a half marathon, or an Ironman race or something like that, even if you don't like to run or do that kind of stuff, go out and watch one of those races, stand by the finish line, watch the people, their emotional reactions, watch their family and friends, and you'll see why it can become somewhat addictive. But I felt like I lost a lot of my community whenever I got long COVID. So, throughout the time, I kind of tried to make connections, and I realized that there was a big void. And that void was from people just not having connection after they get long COVID or a chronic illness. And so, what I wanted to do was create a place where people could talk about that with each other. You know, People talk about marathon runners and triathletes, and they have a bunch of jokes and everything. And one of the like classic marathoner jokes is, how do you know somebody runs marathons? Well, don't worry, because they're probably going to tell you. And so, I feel like engaging with people from the community is really important. So I want to give a platform to people where they can share their stories of struggle, their stories of enduring illness, their stories of recovery. And I want to be able to share it with you guys so that you all can pull tidbits from each story and maybe either gather some tips or hope, um, or just to not really feel alone. So that's my goal with this channel. And a little bit more about my specific struggle is, after getting COVID and the acute recovery phase, I really struggled. Anytime I would run, my heart rate would zoom up in the 170s or at least 160s. It's like I couldn't maintain the aerobic or endurance zone 2 at all. Only really with walking. And that was really weird to me because, as we all know, all of us endurance athletes, we have fancy Garmins and Aura rings and whoops and whatever you use to track our health stats. And so we really know our bodies and we know that something's wrong. And so I gave myself time to rest. I slowly worked back in to doing some weightlifting and that kind of stuff. But I can tell you right now that I'm probably like a little over 10 months since I got the COVID infection. My body is still not the same. And, it's just different. But I'm still in my phase of what I call recovery, because I'm still working through this. But if you are interested in being on the channel, please get in touch. But I just want to give people a space to talk about these things, because it's extremely tough to go from being able to do such hard activities to not really being able to do them. And it's extremely mentally fatiguing, because a lot of endurance athletes and athletes overall feel like if we aren't pushing ourselves, we just need to push harder. And I have found in my own experience dealing with this specific chronic illness that if I push myself too hard, I just crash. And whenever I say crash, I'm talking like being bedridden for a couple days. And that's just not what I'm used to doing with my body. I'm used to my muscles being sore and that kind of stuff. But, you know, I'm not used to it completely giving me headaches and all the other symptoms that I've dealt with dealing with long COVID. So hopefully that helps you kind of understand what this channel is about. And I look forward to interacting with you guys, whether you want to be in the comments of the video or get in touch with me to be on the channel. But if you all have any questions or anything, please let me know. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I look forward to sharing some great content with you guys, some great interviews with athletes so they can tell their story of how they endured illness. Thank you for tuning in to Enduring Illness. I hope that you enjoyed what was discussed today, and if so, please consider liking the content or checking out one of our other episodes. This wouldn't be possible without your support, so I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you.